Hey guys, welcome to another Trade Genius podcast. Bob and Phil here. As always, guys, major cities in the US are headed for bankruptcy. We're going to tell you exactly why. Let's dive in.
Trade Genius.
Hey guys, I want to tell you something that we do that really will change the way in which you look at trading and also absolutely help you increase your profitability and how much money you make. It's the Trade Genius newsletter. We put the newsletter out Sunday night through Thursday night, and this really looks at the plumbing of the markets and helps prepare you for the next trading day and help you make money. And we give you a lot of information. We give you market statistics, we give you market levels, we give you the seasonality, what's happening with different sectors of the market, and we will help you identify whether the market's in a bear mode or a bull mode, or whether it's euphoric, whether it's despondent, and it just puts you in a position to be on the right side of the trade. So take advantage of our offer that we have below, and you'll love it. I mean, one trade that you make with this thing can pay for definitely a month, maybe even a year's worth of service. It's that powerful. Use promo code podcast for 15% off the retail price of newsletter. Thanks for listening.
Okay, Bob, troubling news all goes back to commercial real estate, which is just this massive rotting spot in the economic system here. Tell us about it.
Yeah, three things are hitting the cities, Phil. One of the vacancy rates, which we're going to show you, they're absolutely appalling. And I think it's secular. I think it's one time. The other thing is the immigration crisis. They're all going to these big cities. And then number three is crime. And I think it put it into a tipping point here. So let's throw the first chart up here, and then we can talk a little bit more why I think what's going to happen is going to happen. We are higher occupancy vacancy rates than the great financial crisis.
Wow.
Okay. People are leaving. They're not coming back. I mean, companies are threatening to fire people and they're not coming back. And cities absolutely need, the whole purpose of a city was concentration. You need what they call it, when you get a center of mass,
Economies of scale.
Economies of scale, the whole 9 yards. You need a tipping point. Or what's the purpose of the city, right? It's concentration of benefit and cross-pollination, and the people are not having it. And now I think this is bad news. And it's not just bad news for the people who hold the commercial real estate. It's everybody that has a business in the city needs that. And the city, remember, these are criminal enterprises, a lot of these cities, right? They're not run for the citizenry, for the politicians and their cronies. And they're going to run out of money. And so what's going to happen? You already see it like in Chicago. They keep raising fees and taxes and property taxes and cutting services at the same time. And if you have property in any of these cities, you should have already sold, okay? You should already sold, because they're going to literally tax you until they can steal your property. And you're going to end up, every city's going to end up like Detroit. But look at this next one, Phil. This blows me away. I think this is San Francisco, right? 32% occupancy rate in the city of San Francisco. I mean, it's a ghost town down there. So we have a problem here, and it's not getting any better. And, I think people got used to working from home. I think a lot of companies, and, some complain and bitch and moan about it, but for the most part, it works, and for me personally, in 1996, I was an executive for a Fortune 500 company when nobody worked from home, but the nature of my job allowed me to basically work from home. I didn't even go to the office, and we had two offices within 20 minutes of my office. I just felt that I could get a lot more done. I was supporting people at 5:30 in the morning, so I'm like, why should I get up at 4:30 in the morning to run to the office? Why can't I just roll out of bed and start supporting customers on the East Coast? And it worked. And I think it works for a lot of people. There's some jobs that probably require it, but for the most part, I think you get diffused. And this is, I think, a secular trend, Phil. I always said we had peak centralization, and Democrats and liberals, and totalitarianists, they love centralization because you can control people. But, the people here are like, they want to diffuse. They want to get away. They don't want to be so crowded. They don't want to be unknowns. They don't want to be, caught as a cog in a wheel. And I think this trend's going to continue, because I think this generation coming up, they may not love Republicans, but they hate being told what to do. And I think it's going to be really the great anarchy, I think, is coming. But it looks like it's a United States problem, Phil. Check out this next chart.
Yep.
It just shows you people only work there because they had to work there, okay? Look at New York. Look at San Francisco.
Yep.
They destroyed these cities. These two cities were considered the two golden diamond cities in the world. Anybody that came to the country had to go to New York, had to go to San Francisco.
Right.
And now they're horror shows. There's They're like, stay away. And look at Tokyo. People talking about Tokyo, 5%, 5%. That's nothing. They're probably raising rents.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't have these statistics and not have some sort of economic downturn brewing, right? You just can't. This is not normal. But this also is compounded by the fact that I think a lot of there was a lot of mismanagement, right? Because if you think about all the businesses that in the last 12 months basically said, we're closing up shop. This used to be HQ in San Francisco, but our people are getting mugged. It's not safe anymore. I don't know where I don't know where the decision was made to just let everybody go nuts, but it really has turned into an escape from LA type of situation down there. I think we went there in 2019 and it was still okay, but it was like right after that. And really, I guess you could point to COVID. Something didn't get fixed after COVID. It just went to the wayside. And now they're reaping the what they've sown there. And it's going to be compounded now, I think, because we're going into an economic downturn. So, you're not far off when you're talking about whether these guys can meet their bills and everybody's just running for the hills because they can't be there anymore. It's not safe. It's not pretty, so the upsides are very limited. Look how many stores have closed. I mean, even places like Beverly Hills, they're just closing up because otherwise, you're subject to people running in there, cleaning you out, and there's no recourse for anybody. So maybe it's going to be a self-healing thing where the economic pain is so great, we get back to some normalcy in terms of, consequences and being law-abiding people again. Because right now, it's pretty lawless in these areas.
Yeah, and look, they have to manage their pension and their medical plans for these people, and I get to see somebody's made. And here's the thing, as long as there's Republicans running the House, they're not going to do giveaways to these cities, right? They're going to make them feel the pain, so nobody else will ever want to run a city like that again. I have a prediction in the next 5 years, one of the top 10 cities in the United States is going to go completely bust. Houston, where the oil patch is, oil headquarters, 27% vacancy rate.
Wow.
I mean, Dallas, Austin, huge vacancy rates. I mean, things are going reasonably well. People just do not want to be there. They overbuilt.
Right.
And see, the reason why we're not seeing so much of this right now, Phil, is because they've gated a lot of this stuff. They're still paying out investors rental money, okay? But they're not letting them get out of their investment. And at some point, these people are going to all take big haircuts. And who's really going to suffer for it is the next generation not going to get their inheritances because their guys are going to wipe them out, because they're going to find out. And this happened to my mother-in-law a long time ago before the first financial crisis. It took her 9 years to get out of a REIT. They basically gated her and said, hey, we're still going to pay whatever dividend we're going to pay, but you can't get out of it, okay? Either this thing's going to go bankrupt or we dissolve it, you're going to get whatever. But it took her that long before real estate turned up enough for them to dispose of their properties to close the REIT off. And I think in this situation, you look at 20 years, 25 years. They say an average, life, it's like 40 years for terminal value on an office building, right? For they can basically depreciate it all off, and, before you need new stock, if you will. But I don't think people are ever going to need it again. And technology is just going to get better, better, and better. What do you need an office for?
Right.
I would say, Phil, and you're more into technology than I am. I mean, Cisco had systems 10 years ago that made you almost feel like you're in the same room with people.
Sure.
And I think, in the next 10 years, with AI and holographics and stuff like that, you can almost create an office environment with you sitting there with other people. So I just don't see offices of the future are dead. Buy bandwidth, sell office real estate.
Yeah. I mean, unless you're dealing with physical products or physical projects, right? Construction and things like that. But even a lot of office work and construction can be done virtually, right? But if you're a project manager, you obviously have to go out to the field. But I mean, I always made that argument too. I was like, we have these IP phones, right? You can literally take it home, plug it into your home network, and it rings like you're in an office extension at your home, right? I mean, it's very creative that way. So yeah, there's not a lot unless you're in actually physical manufacturing where, you have to be present on site. There's a majority of the jobs I think can be facilitated, especially from a managerial standpoint at home. So it, ultimately makes things more efficient and the economy is better off for that. But I think that this is a huge issue. This commercial real estate is a huge burning cancer in a lot of these regional banks. It's going to be an issue. And my thought there is that, tax-free muni bonds is a big popular thing, especially in retirement portfolios, especially in big pensions too. Those are a big draw. What happens when some of these AAA rated things start to default? I mean, that's where this goes from a compartmentalized thing to a city to now it's a systemic problem affecting the entire country's economy because you're now creating defaults that are huge and they end up having collateral effects in other parts of the economy. So that's where this can get really out of hand. And it's a pity because it really could have been prevented. And I think that, that's one thing about the city management and things getting bad, but it festered into the commercial real estate. And then that part of it, that portfolio wasn't managed well. They could have been hedging those holdings. Nobody hedged the bond losses that we've experienced. No one hedged any of this commercial real estate drawdown. So it's mismanagement across the board from city management to portfolio management. And what we have to be careful now is it doesn't play into some kind of culmination going into a recession because you're going to have weakened economic conditions that kind of exasperate these issues and it can exponentially get out of hand.
Yeah, it's a big mess. And guys, we may be giddy here, for a little bit of some macro moves here because of the flows, but just trust me, have your foot out the door. And if you're being managed, if your portfolio is being managed by somebody else, you better take a good hard look in there to see what they have you stuck in, okay? You don't want to be in anything that you can't wake up tomorrow and get out of because they'll lock you down. They don't care. They got their fees.
Right.
With that, Phil, we got to get back because Apple's going to report, guys, and it'll be interesting. We'll probably talk about that tomorrow. Hit like, hit subscribe. Thanks for you guys who listened yesterday to our live podcast. We're definitely going to do that again. If you ever want to do a Q&A, we could do one of those too in the future. Really good questions, really good people, and it was a lot of fun. And Phil, thank you for hosting that.
Yep.
And with that, guys, we'll see you tomorrow.
See you later.
Trade